All right, so here we have the data model, the schema that represents a user, and currently we just have these attributes: the username, password, first name, last name, and whether they are admin. So let's add a couple more things to the schema. In particular, we want to be able to create the relationship between two data models, right? In particular, the user being related to several websites. So let's create the schema for the websites. So here we'll create the website dash schema dot server. Okay, and in here we'll need a mongoose. So let's load mongoose here. So require mongoose. We'll need a schema. So we'll create the website schema, and this will be mongoose dot schema, and this will allow us to describe what a schema is all about. We'll have a name for the website. We'll have a description, also a string. We'll have maybe the date it was created. We'll say that it's a date, type date, and the default value for this will be taken using the file. Will be calculated using this function. Okay, you can provide your own functions, right? But here we are providing the default date.now function to calculate the current time. I'll also override the collection name that I want to use so that Mongoose doesn't choose a collection on its own. We'll say that this is website, following the naming convention that I'm only going to use singular nouns, right? No plurals. Okay. Now that we have the schema all set up, we can export it so that others can use it. Website schema. Right, now that we have the website schema, we can then implement the model from this. Right, so let's now implement the model for this, and this will be website dot model dot server dot js, and here too we will need mongoose. So let's load mongoose. So we'll require mongoose, and plus we'll need the schema for the website, and this will be var website model. We'll need the schema first. Website schema. We'll require it, and it lives in the same directory here. There it is, schema. Very good. Now that we have the schema, we can then define the model. So var website model will be mongoose dot model plus the following is a unique identifier that registers this model with the rest of the mongoose framework, so that this is unique. I cannot use this name again. We'll call this the website model, and it will be implemented using the website schema. Right. All right. Then typically we will have all sorts of functions here that will allow us to create websites, find websites, update websites, remove websites. Yes. Okay. But we'll do that. We'll do that a little later. For now, let's expose this website model. We'll export it. We'll say module that exports website model. So now it can be referenced from other places. Okay, it can be referenced from other places. Okay, in particular, it will be able to reference from a service, the website service that we haven't refactored just yet. Okay. All right, but before we do that, before we go into that, I'd like to talk about the relationship that exists between users and websites. Okay, we had mentioned that users, the user model, the schema of the user data model is that it keeps track of all the websites that a particular user has created. Okay, and we capture that using a new attribute, websites, that keeps track of an array of website instances. Okay, and again, there's several ways of doing it. Okay, the common way is to have it have these be arrays of references or pointers, right, to all the other website instances. Right, meaning that what we're going to store in here, we are going to store the values of the underscore ID primary keys. Right, those are the values that we're going to store in here, which we can then use to be able to go and fetch the actual instance of the website. Right, we can go fetch it later on. Right, so the type for this is that I want those IDs here, right, in here. So the type is a mongoose type. Right, so we can go the type is declared somewhere here. Schema, the types maybe. Object ID. I don't remember. I think that's it. Oh, well, it's not an array actually. Is that why I'm getting an error a syntax error? Object schema types. Like, why are you not finding it? Types? Let's see. Mongoose schema object ID reference. Oh, it's just schema? I thought it was mongoose schema. Really? Oh, okay. Mongoose schema up here. So it is mongoose schema. Then why is the IDE not cooperating? Oh, because it's an array. Yeah, actually, this is an array of those, right? But that's not the point. So type it is dot types. Yeah. Okay, I was right. All right. Types. And so that's a type. What I'm saying here is that the value of the underscore ID for websites, that's the value of this thing. Right? That really long number, right? Numbers and letters and a hexadecimal value is what the value goes here. And then I need to tell it what is this referencing? How should I interpret this number? How should I interpret it? And what we're going to tell it is that we're gonna give it some metadata and tell it that these are IDs taken from a object that was created using this mongoose model, right? This website model over here. Okay, so we're gonna paste it right here. So this has to match whatever you called your model, right? Now that's why this is used to register this model with the rest of the framework, so that elsewhere, right, that model will be known by its name. Okay? This is useful later on if I want to populate. If later on I want to say, hey, I don't really want those IDs, those long numbers. Actually, why don't you replace them with the actual object? Right? And the way it's going to know what to populate in there, what to put in there, is to take that ID, says, ooh, that's a website model, and I know what website models look like. They look like this. They have names and descriptions and created. I'll know how to populate all that. I'll create the JSON object for you, and I'll put it in there in that array. Make sense? Right? And that's what this metadata is used for. Right? Again, none of this is not supported by the default low-level MongoDB. Right? MongoDB does support providing instances of IDs here, but populating and doing all that sort of looks like a join, that's up to you. Okay? What Mongoose does is that it creates this higher level of abstraction, right? And packages it in a nice little function called populate. Right? And then it'll go fetch all these instances for you, which is pretty cool. Right? Almost looks like a join. All right, so there it is. We have now the user being able to reference several instances of websites. But the other way around can be done as well. We can have the websites themselves reference the developer, right? Developer, and the developer as follows, right? Same thing. The type of this, the value of this attribute will be that ID, the ID, right? The underscore ID of that user that created this website. Right, so schema types that object ID, right? And we're going to give it a meta information here, telling it that this references user objects, right? And we created those. We gave them names. We called the user model, right? So there it is. So this one too will allow us to do. And, if you're asking for a website, if you want, I can also give you the entire user object instead of just the ID. Okay? Make sense? All right. So now that we have that, we can now start creating. Yes.
It seems like if you type without, if you write it without types, it also works. Why do you need types?
Types are all the raw data types like number, string, date. All of them are listed under there.
And if we omit it, then is it going to give us any?
I believe so. Yes, I've tried it and it doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Do we actually need to reference a website from the user?
You don't really. Well, you would choose one or the other typically. You typically do not have both, where both the user references the children, and then the child also references the parent. I mean, you can, but it's typically you choose one or the other, not both. In the assignment, I ask you to do it to practice on how to do it, but the actual implementation of finding the parent or the children, you could choose either one. Okay. There is an easier one, and I'll let you discover which one. Maybe we'll discover it today. All right, so here we have websites and users now referencing each other. Right. So now let's start building code that allows us to capture these relationships. All right. So let's do that. We'll do that next.